Have you ever felt the bittersweet relief of finally walking away from a toxic relationship? After months, maybe even years, of emotional turbulence, you find yourself standing in the light of newfound freedom. You've begun to heal. Slowly but surely, the weight of self-doubt starts to lift, and for the first time in a long time, you're starting to feel good about yourself. Then, out of nowhere, like a shadow from the past, they reappear. That familiar face, carrying the same old energy, shows up as if nothing ever happened. It's jarring, isn't it? Almost surreal. Why now? And more importantly, why do they act as though their actions never left scars? This phenomenon isn't a random coincidence. There's a deeply rooted psychological game at play when narcissists decide to reinsert themselves into your life. It's calculated, it's intentional. But understanding the why can be your most powerful tool for staying strong and reclaiming your peace. So, let's peel back the layers of this perplexing behavior and uncover the truth behind their unexpected return. Welcome to the Common Ego community. My name is Christina, and I'm here as your guide on this journey of recovery. As a toxic relationship recovery coach, I've seen this scenario play out countless times, and I'm here to tell you you're not alone, and what you're feeling is valid. It's part of a pattern, one that's as predictable as it is manipulative. If you've ever been involved with a narcissist, you'll know how they thrive on control and validation. Even after the relationship ends, their need for influence over your life doesn't fade. They come back, not out of love or regret, but because they can sense your progress. Your healing becomes a threat to their fragile sense of self. But knowledge is power, and awareness is your strongest shield. To help you navigate this, I've created a free checklist to guide you in identifying the phases of narcissistic abuse. This resource isn't just a tool, it's a roadmap to help you understand your experience and see it for what it truly was: manipulation, not a reflection of your worth. You'll find the link in the description below. Healing from a toxic relationship is a journey, and moments like these can feel like setbacks. But every time you choose yourself, every time you say no to their attempts at re-entry, you reclaim your strength. You're not just moving on, you're breaking free. And that freedom is something no one can take away from you. Now, let's talk about another reason they come back as if nothing happened. They sense your healing progress. Narcissists have a predatory sixth sense for vulnerability. Not only do they detect and exploit weakness, but they can also detect strength, and that's what really triggers them. Especially if they've been able to manipulate you in the past, they're counting on coming back to do it again. Imagine you're out there doing the hard work. Maybe you're in therapy, doing loads of self-reflection and rebuilding those ever-important boundaries. You're standing taller, speaking clearer, setting limits that would have been impossible before. And just when you think you're finally moving forward, that's when they'll reappear. It's not a coincidence, it's a calculated move. Your healing isn't something they celebrate, it's a challenge they can't resist. To them, your growing confidence looks like a fortress they need to breach. Your newfound boundaries are just walls waiting to be scaled. Your emotional recovery is a game to them. And they're determined to win it. They're determined to take you down. Because if they can win, if they can pull you back down to where you were before, that's the ultimate ego boost for them. So, their return is not about love or genuine connection. It's about proving that they can still destabilize you. They want to know if they can still make you doubt yourself, can they still provoke that familiar emotional spiral. As you might have guessed, this is all about control. They'll use subtle tactics like a seemingly innocent text, a strategic social media interaction, or maybe an accidental encounter. Their goal is to create just enough disruption to see if they can find a foot in the door. All they need is a tiny crack to make their way back in and destroy all your hard work. But here's what you always need to remind yourself: responding gives them exactly what they want. Your reaction, whether it's anger, confusion, or pain, is like their trophy. So silence and continued self-focus is the true power move. No matter how much you want to tell them off, silence is the way to go. One comment illustrates how well the power of silence works on a narcissist. I tried fighting my controlling husband, but after a while, I realized silence and no reaction worked against him. I now only respond with one word: rude, and he absolutely does not know how to handle that, and it shuts him up. Oh. Now, let's get to those reasons. Why do they come back like nothing happened, even if they've burned many bridges? Reason number one could be that you're their backup plan. I know that sounds a little harsh, but I also know that some of you need to hear this harsh truth. If you think you are dealing with a narcissist, going back is not a good idea. Here's a hard truth about narcissists: they always keep a backup plan. When their primary source of validation starts to crumble, they'll boomerang right back to you. Not because they genuinely miss you, even though it feels that way, but because you're their emotional safety net, a source of supply that they can just slide right back into. They already know you very well and know how to get what they want out of you. Enter the concept of monkey branching. It's a calculated relationship strategy where they never let go of one connection before securing another. It's kind of like a monkey swinging from branch to branch. Another sad truth is that you may have been an alternative at one point or another. So how does this look? They'll reach out casually, as if months or years have not passed, as if all of that previous drama had never happened. They come back with no apology, usually, and no explanation, just a breezy hey that suggests complete emotional amnesia. Why do they do this? To them, you're not a person with complex feelings. You're a resource, a contingency plan, a potential rescue boat when their current relationship inevitably comes to a shipwreck. Here's a comment from one of you who really gets this: it's so foreign to me to have a backup without caring for that person in the least. It's so sick. My boss did this to me, my dad too, and my ex. And here's why this tends to work so often when they come back around. They're betting on your familiarity and your history. They're betting that you have some lingering feelings, or they're betting on your innate kindness. They're counting on you being just vulnerable enough to let them slide back into your life. But here's the real power move: you, and only you, get to decide whether that branch is available. You control their access. Now, let's move on to another reason a narcissist will come back like nothing happened. They want to maintain control. If you've been in a relationship with a narcissist long enough, especially with some on-again, off-again behavior, you might have noticed breadcrumbing. This is when they occasionally reach out with just a little feeler, completely non-committal and possibly confusing. It feels nice to know you're on their mind, but to them, it's about keeping you on the shelf. They want to make sure you don't fully move on so they can come back later if they choose. None of this is about missing you, it's about maintaining influence. They want to see if they can still make your heart rate spike with just a few words. Again, silence is always the best answer. Even telling them to back off is still a response, and that fuels them. The best thing you can do is block the number and move on. For them, it's about keeping you just unsettled enough to remember they exist, not because they care, but because your continued awareness validates their sense of power and entitlement. Another reason that a narcissist will come back like nothing happened is that they want to test your boundaries. Boundaries are kind of like kryptonite to a narcissist. They see them not as healthy protective measures, but as challenges to be conquered. Narcissists want to gauge how much they can get away with without fully re-entering your life. Like I've mentioned, breadcrumbing is the primary technique that they'll use. This might look like occasional cryptic text messages, sending memes or inside jokes, brief seemingly random check-in calls, indirect communication through mutual friends, or really any kind of communication where they just come up out of the blue and disappear in a similar fashion. But here's the truth: each breadcrumb is really like a test. They're testing how quickly you'll respond, how much emotional energy you'll invest, and whether you're still susceptible to their manipulation. And if you are, they win. Because they're able to keep that emotional connection. and they're able to continue taking up space rent-free in your head for an indefinite period of time without making any sort of commitment at all. One of the most insidious traits of a narcissist is their ability to reappear in your life, often when you least expect it. Why do they come back? One reason is simple: their current situation isn't working out. Remember the concept of monkey branching. Before they ended things with you, they likely had already scouted for someone else, maybe even started laying the groundwork for that connection while still with you. But if that new branch doesn't pan out, they'll swing back, not because they care, but because they see you as a convenient option, a temporary source of validation until something new comes along. It's tempting to feel flattered when they return, especially if you're fresh out of the relationship and still processing the emotional fallout. However, this momentary return is hollow. Their actions don't signify remorse or genuine interest. Instead, it's important to see this for what it is: another manipulation tactic. It can be especially painful if the person they moved on to appears to be getting the version of them you longed for: kindness, attention, affection. But remember, this illusion is carefully crafted. Narcissists are masters of the love-bombing phase, where everything seems perfect. It's a facade designed to make you question yourself, to foster self-doubt, and to convince you that the failure of the relationship was your fault all along. Here's the truth: the problem was never you. And the most effective way to reclaim your power is not by seeking revenge, but by building yourself up. Focus on self-growth, healing, and rediscovering your worth. When they reappear with a lazy, non-committal message, perhaps a vague "Hey, how have you been?" remember, you are not an option. You're the one who got away. Stay grounded in that truth and resist the temptation to engage. Your strength lies in staying away and choosing yourself. Another reason a narcissist may circle back is that they haven't found a suitable replacement yet. Narcissists are emotional opportunists, constantly hunting for their next source of supply. In their eyes, people are interchangeable, mere pawns in their endless quest for validation. If their search for a new connection doesn't yield immediate results, they'll dip back into their harem of exes, a carefully maintained Rolodex of past partners, kept just close enough to reach out when needed. If you've experienced breadcrumbing, those sporadic, low-effort attempts to reconnect, it's not about you. It's their way of testing the waters, checking if you're still emotionally available and willing to give them energy. Your boundaries, though healthy and essential, are seen by them as challenges to overcome. By engaging, you risk feeding into their game. By holding firm, you reclaim your power. It's not uncommon for a narcissist to resurface as though nothing ever happened, even after brutal discards. They may act as if the pain they caused was a mere inconvenience, something unworthy of acknowledgement. But here's the key to remember: their return, or lack of it, has nothing to do with your worth. Whether they reach out or remain distant, your value remains unchanged. If you're struggling to understand what's happening behind the scenes, consider this: narcissists thrive on control, and your independence threatens that. Going no contact is your most powerful move. It removes you from their cycle of manipulation and forces them to confront a reality where they no longer have access to you. Lastly, stay vigilant for the warning signs of their return. Sudden messages after prolonged silence, overly superficial or scripted communication, and a refusal to take accountability for their past actions are all red flags. If their contact feels like an attempt to test your boundaries or reel you back in, know that it's manipulation. You are not a backup plan, a placeholder, or a source of fleeting validation. You deserve relationships founded on genuine care, respect, and mutual understanding. Your worth is intrinsic, unshaken by their interest or indifference. It's a full stop. Your value is not defined by their fleeting attention. The moment you internalize this truth is the moment you free yourself from their grasp, stepping into the light of your own power and resilience. Breadcrumbing, a manipulative tactic that leaves many emotionally confused, is often driven by deeper motives. As one insightful commenter shared, "I cut him off without any warning a year ago. He has tried texting, calling a handful of times, to which I decided not to answer at all. He just tried calling again. I will not answer. He just wants to keep minimal contact to be in my will. This sharp observation captures the essence of breadcrumbing, often a hallmark of narcissistic behavior. It's a subtle but deliberate attempt to maintain just enough connection to serve their self-serving interests. Indeed, this behavior fits the pattern of a narcissist's calculated approach. For those dealing with this right now, I want to remind you that you're not alone. It's remarkably common for narcissists to reappear as if nothing ever happened, even after the most painful and unceremonious rejection. Their return isn't a reflection of regret or genuine connection, it's often another calculated move. However, it's equally crucial to acknowledge that not every narcissist comes back. Whether they do or don't, their actions have absolutely nothing to do with your worth or value as a person. This distinction is critical for your healing and self-preservation. If you've chosen to go no contact, you might be curious about the psychological mechanics behind their persistence. What drives someone to breadcrumb even when you've made your boundaries clear? Understanding their motives can empower you to stay firm in your decisions. It's not about closure from them, it's about finding closure within yourself. To gain deeper insights into the dynamics at play after cutting off contact, check out the video suggested on the screen. It delves into the hidden strategies of narcissists and equips you with tools to protect your peace. And before you go, don't forget to like the video to support the conversation. Take care, stay strong, and remember your value is not defined by anyone else's behavior. See you next time.